The pj-fleck-show is presented by Window Concepts and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union.
Our how is everything. How you do something matters. Culture, how, next on mentality. That better be first.
The pj-fleck-show starts now.
And welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the pj-fleck-show. Joined, as always, by the head coach of Gopher-football, PJ Fleck, alongside Ron Johnson, Justin Guard. I'm Pierre Noujaim. It was a hard-fought game until the bitter end, but the Gophers fall just a little short against Michigan. 27-24 was the final in Ann Arbor. PJ, I'm just going to get it out of the way right now. Everybody's talking. It's probably the most talked about play since last year's special teams play.
That you're engaged? Is that the most talked about?
That's not what we're talking about.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not what we're
engaged.
talking
When
about.
that happened?
That's not what we're talking about.
We were building
He
up
did
to
it on
that.
Instagram.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't do it
Instagram.
on
That's how we
I
found
didn't
out.
do it on Instagram. I just announced it later. But that's not why people are tuning into the show. I promise
That's
you.
what we need to be talking about right
Exactly.
now.
I have it on my notes to get to, and you just started the whole bit.
We got to
We need
start
the
the show
whole
off
game
with
plan.
funness every week. That's the goal.
That's right, yeah.
Lori said that's how we're going to start the show every week now.
Pretty sure the fans don't really care that much about that here for the football. I got to ask, though.
I'd rather talk about that.
Maybe we'll get to it a little later in the show. But first things first.
Yeah.
Was it offside? Was it not offside? What were you told? How did the whole thing play out with the end of the game there in the fourth quarter with you guys with an opportunity to recover an onside kick?
Well, first and foremost, I've always taken the stance that we're not going to BCD, blame, complain, and deflect. We're going to take accountability for how we played in 60 minutes. That's what you get. That's what you measure. In our opinion, that game should never have come down to that last play. We had a punt blocked and had a fumble in the first half, and that cost us. But the Big Ten came out with a statement, which I thought was very appropriate from them. We came back with our statement, and now we need to move on to USC. And, I give the Big Ten a lot of credit for taking the hour conversation that we had with Director Coyle and the commissioner of the Big Ten, Bill Carolla, head of officials, AJ Eads, and being on that call and actually getting changes made immediately. And I think that takes a huge step for the Big Ten to be able to actually do that, of having the umpire who's really behind the D-line the entire game make that call from the sideline, which is usually a side judge or a field judge, making that's always in that position, making that call in a bang-bang play. And would have loved to see what have happened after that. I'm sure Fox maybe would have loved to see what would have happened after that.
Fine by me.
But at the end of the day, you got to play better, and that's what we focused on with our football team. We're not going to blame, complain, deflect. It's one play in the game. It's a big play in the game, but we could have been better throughout that game and found a better way and a more consistent way of winning throughout the entire game.
Well, you just went through BCD, but I'm going to go back to the beginning. Adjustments. So at halftime, there were some adjustments made. You guys had a chance to get back into the game. What did you guys talk about at the half?
Well, first of all, we told the players we wanted a better response than we did at the when we had the University of Iowa at home. I mean, we did not respond well in the second half, and I said that's all I want you to focus on. All right, we were able to get a bonsai field goal, which has only happened 2 times in my 12 years of being a head football coach that you get that play off. But at the end of the day, I wanted them to respond better than we did. We're going to take it one play at a time. We need to go at a little bit more of an urgent tempo, not 2-minute tempo, but just we need to be a little bit more urgent, get into a little bit more of a rhythm. And I thought we executed better in the second half, and we were able to do that. Played better defense, but we were executing. That's all it was. People talk about the halftime adjustments, and there's a lot of things we're changing. But at the end of the day, we didn't execute in the first half, and we executed in the second half. You go back to Iowa, we executed in the first half. It wasn't like we threw out a bunch of plays and started over. We just didn't execute in the second half, and then the game starts unfolding the way it does as you start in the second half and start going against that T4 type situation where you get to the fourth quarter, and now there's actually points that you have to either get or you have to hold that lead.
5 games in, how do you feel about your run game?
Yeah, I think that what we always wanted to do this year was just be balanced, and we want to be consistent with that. And I think whether we are throwing the ball or whether we're running the ball, the consistency has to continue to go through the roof, And I think if we have to be able to run the ball, we got to be able to run the ball effectively. If we have to throw the ball, we have to throw the ball effectively and efficiently. We've done it at times, both of them. But again, it's a drop here that puts us in a tough position. It's a false start here where now it's 1st and 15. That takes you out of some of those situations. So we might not be running the ball as much in 5 games, But we want to be balanced, but sometimes we're forced to not run the football when we actually want to. And we've learned a lot in 5 games, and now we have to go apply those things and be better at them. We played some really good opponents. I give always the analogy of swinging a baseball bat in the on-deck circle with a bunch of donuts on it. But we're taking some of the donuts into the batter's box up to the plate with us. Get them off your bat and let's get swinging. And I think that's where, after 5 games of data, I know this team's really confident. I know they know they're really good. They feel they're really good. Now we just have to go do it for 60 minutes.
You just mentioned the bonsai just 2 times in 12 years, basically. How many times in your career has your lead running back had more targets in the passing game than carries?
I don't know if ever. And I'll be honest.
Right?
Truly, right? I don't think ever. But again, there's 3 first-rounders on that D-line.
Right.
And, they've also, for the most part, suffocated a really good USC offense that we're going to face this week. So that's tough sledding. You look at North Carolina's D-line at the time when we played them, really, really good, really active. Iowa, really good against the run. So we've had to find ways to be able to move the ball, not just keep running into a brick wall. So these backs are different. Our backs are different. Our philosophy has changed. Our offense is a little different based on the players we have. I keep saying we don't have Mohamed Ibrahim in the backfield anymore, who takes 40 carries and we run 3 to 4 plays and we run it 30 different ways and we only throw the ball 12 times. Max Brosmer's a warrior. Like, that dude is a stud. He's really, really talented and really good. And if you take away some of the drops he's had, his percentages are through the roof. They're some of the best percentages we've ever had within our program. So we just have to be more effective. We've got to be more efficient. We got to execute when the plays are called, and I got to do a better job of making sure our team can play for 60 minutes.
On the flip side, you mentioned it, especially the last couple of weeks, when it comes to stopping the run, you said tackling was a little bit of an issue. Is it a fundamentals thing? Is it a scheme thing? What are some of the things you're noticing in terms of trying to stop the run?
Is there a all the above option?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because your
name is on the show.
Let's go back to this, right? Because I think that this is going to help us and this is going to benefit. We played, I think, one of the best running backs in the entire country in week 1 at North Carolina. Maybe the second best back in the country is at Iowa. And then there's maybe 3 and 4 at Michigan. They're going to get their yards.
Sure.
Like, if they don't, then that's not a very good football team that just went to the national championship. We know that they are talented. We have to be able to limit it. We've limited it, except for a few plays where we've missed a tackle. We were late to the gap. These aren't like glaring, like, what are we doing? It doesn't make sense. Or, boy, they are not playing hard. Boy, they're not giving effort. They're not in the position to make the play. We just have to do it again, more consistently, more efficiently. And it's all of it. We can be better as coaches. We can be better as players, and we can get those guys on the ground more consistently.
And when you look at, is it Twitter, X, I don't know, what's trending, first, there was a catch by Daniel Jackson. Second was Pierre's engagement. So we're going to stick with the top
Seriously?
one.
How about that?
We're going to stick with the top one, though. Daniel Jackson's catch. I talked to him last night. I got a chance to speak at the all-athletes thing they come to for the Champions Way or something like that. And that's the first thing I said. And he's like, man, I don't even know. He said, I saw it and it touched my hand and I knew I had it. And I just kept going with it. And like, we both were just talking through like big catches. First question is, because I asked him, I said, do you think PJ can make that catch? Do you think you can make that catch? Or could have made that catch in your day?
Check YouTube, man.
You got the VHSs up top.
You got it on tape.
The only thing I could do was catch the football. That was the only thing. I couldn't run. I can't dance. I can't do all the other things. But my license plate in college was hands 82. Man.
How about that?
I had some hands, but that's about it. I don't know about that one. That one's tough. He's made some unbelievable catches, and I don't think people understand how hard that is because your body is basically sawed in half there. Yeah. His lower half is completely limb, going on the top of his toes, right? Not just dragging his toe. We talk about get on the top of your toes, which allows you to fall forward, get the most on the back line, and he's contorting his body, fighting off a defender, catching the ball with one hand, almost backwards. It's one of the best catches I've ever seen.
It was backwards. It's the best catch I've ever seen.
And to be able to do that in that moment under the pressure of the situation, but that's what he does.
So are you going to go to the ESPYs then? Are you going to show up when he wins the catch of the year?
Well, if it does, absolutely. Absolutely. But it was an amazing catch. But that just shows what you have to do upper body wise and have the hand-eye coordination to just, as he said, to kind of just do it.
Yeah.
That's natural for him. you know? No offense to your tennis skills, but we'll just reenact that and see if we can get that done. And now that you're an engaged man, maybe you can get that done. But it is unbelievable when you see like what he has to do and how he just does it so naturally. And like when you caught passes, like you don't think about it when you're doing it. It needs to be an instinct, but he's worked on those types of catches. The Nebraska catch, there's a technique to that. There's a technique to that, at least in the lower body-wise. And he was able to make the catch and make the play.
Pierre and I are going to let those strays go right by us because we're going to rise above that, right? We're going to rise above that.
But I'm sure you can do it. It was a compliment to the
I want to talk about the QB, Max Brosmer, because I was a 6th grade quarterback, so I feel like I understand what Max was seeing there.
What happened in 7th grade?
Then I played tennis. Then I was out. I broke my pinky. It was over. When he goes on a heater, you're a Vegas guy. You understand when someone's on a heater. Max has gotten on those a couple of times this year, including in the second half. What's going right with him? What's going right with the offense when it really looked like he started to feel it again in that second half?
You know, and I think that's where we just have to be able to get him into that faster. You know, I'm not a big momentum guy, but I am a feel guy where in terms of he's in the flow of the game, the feel of the game. We just have to be able to get to that way faster. But again, you want to be balanced when you're doing that. It's hard for a quarterback to get into the feel of the game when you run it 14 straight times. It's hard for him to get into the feel of the game. He's so good. What people don't see about him is he's so good at the line of scrimmage and getting us in the right protection. He does all of our protections. He's brilliant. And we play some extensive defenses and very complex. He's the one setting us in all the protections and has the ability to change it, move it around. And when you're playing a weak Martindale defense, that is almost impossible to do. And he handles it with ease. We just got to be able to, you know, we drop a ball really early, you know, and then we got to punt. We drop another ball a little bit later. You know, we fumble the ball. We get a block punt. It's not like he's not getting into a rhythm, but when we're down 21-0, there's a different type of rhythm to get into.
Sure.
So, again, I think all of these things that are going on are going to make us a better team as we move forward. Sure. Because, again, we've had so many donuts on that baseball bat. When we get those donuts off that bat and they're all off in the batter's box, we're going to be really good. I mean, it's going to be really good.
Well, we have so much more to come here on the PJ Fleck Show. When we come back, we'll be joined by wide receiver Lemeki Brockington. Stay with us. That's coming up next on the PJ Fleck Show.
You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the PJ Fleck Show. We are joined now by a very special guest, wide receiver Lemeki Brockington, joining us here on set. Lemeki, I want to start with the game against Michigan. I know there's no such thing as moral victories, but with the way you guys came out and played in the second half to make it such a close game in the end, what do you take away from how you guys were able to perform in that second half against Michigan?
As Coach Fleck said, that we can really be a good team. Like, we're a really good team. Like, just going out in the second half, putting on that type of performance, just showing that we can compete with those type of guys. You know, they're a really great team. You know, the best in the business. But for Minnesota to just come out there, show them, put it on for show, just be able to, like, compete and just give it all we can. I'm very proud of our group and our receiver group, quarterbacks, O-line, running backs, defense as well. You know, putting a great half, second half together. You know, we might not have problems, might not have no great problems like in the first half like we did. But the second half, we really put it together and came out and played.
Yeah, I want to talk about the first half to the second half because from my untrained eye on the sideline, it looked like you guys were frustrated with how you were playing, right? And in the second half, though, all of you guys made plays, not just the crazy Daniel Jackson catch, but you had a nice catch. Elijah had a bunch of catches. So what went into that response?
You know, we all got working in unison, you know, just keep responding from the first half. You know, we didn't like the first half results of what we had, so we just come out there, just keep putting our head down, just keep moving forward, play one play at a time, you know, just keep pushing it forward, you know.
PJ, one of the cool things about the job is you see these guys grow up. And I met Lemeki at Camp Randall in the opposite end zone from where he scored a 44-yard-ish touchdown to knock off the Badgers. That's where everybody was introduced. We might have talked for 1 minute. I think I talked for 47 seconds. He said no words. He said that was fun. I said, interesting. 2 weeks ago, I interviewed him for the pregame show. I'm like, who is this guy? He's a totally different guy. Long-winded answer to how much have you seen him grow just into the guy that he is now? Just so much more comfortable.
Just so much even more confidence. It's so fun to watch young people go from where they are, and you know they're boys. You know they're boys when they get here as high school seniors. Then they become young men, and then they leave as men. And it is so awesome to watch them grow, and especially Mekhi, you know, because Mekhi's not necessarily the most talkative person, right? Especially when he first got here, and then to watch him open up and look at that smile, like I mean, everybody talks about how well he cooks, and he's a very selfless person. Everybody on the team likes Mekhi. You know, it's really fun to see him grow into that. And one thing I love about him, just as a football player, because we all love him as a person, but as a football player, like, he's willing to do all like the dirty work. He blocks his tail end up. He blocks like a tight end, and he is fearless in the run game, and he's tough. When you block as hard as he does, right, and still catch the passes he does, there's going to be bumps and bruises, and you're using your hands, and I can't tell you how many times he's like holding his wrist or his hand. I'm like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." You know, and then he's got to go out and catch passes. So he's a very selfless teammate. Everybody on the team, he connects with everybody. He's a very eclectic guy. Like, he can relate to a lot of people on the team, and I think that's a credit to him.
Lemecki, PJ brought up a very important point. You know, me personally, sports is a distant second to food in terms of interest. So you mentioned food and what you cook. Now, we had Jack Henderson on this show not that long ago. He's got the crawfish etouffee, all this other stuff. But you are doing what exactly you're cooking up in the kitchen? People got to know.
You know, I like cook a little soul food. You know, I got to bring that southern up to the north, you know.
That's right. That's right. And what's the specialty?
I got my special wings I make. Now, I get it from my mom. It's a great recipe. I made it a while back on Diggy put a little video out about it, so you can probably go out and watch it.
Did it go over well? I have to imagine it did.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Indeed.
Oh, yes.
Do the Minnesota guys know what to do with either Jack Henderson's Cajun food or your soul food? What's a Quinn Carroll do with wings like that?
He eats anything.
Coy Parrott's from Esco, where it's probably just frozen fish. How does he handle the soul food?
You know, I just tell him, like, hey, man, just eat it, enjoy it. You know, just enjoy the food. Don't even think about it, just enjoy it. You know?
That's right. That's what it's meant for. Before we get out of here with you, USC is a unique challenge, a team that you've never faced before. This is, the new look Big Ten. We're seeing teams that we're not accustomed to seeing. So when you get a new team, do you kind of get a little extra pep in your step saying, hey, this is the first time we're going against USC, let's show them what we got?
I mean, for every team that we play against, you always got to have that pep in your step, regardless of who you play. But, just having USC coming over from whatever their side was and then Big Ten and everything else, it's just a different perspective of, like, how they come into the game, They bring, like, offensive game, they throw a lot of ball around, the big team, we run heavy. Just them bringing that in is just a whole different mindset. Yeah, no doubt about it. Lemecki, we appreciate you taking the time as always. Next time you're on the show, you got to give me the recipe for the thing. I got to. You got to bring it in. I was going to say bring it in. Bring it in on the table. Just bring it pan. I didn't want to make him do more work than he had to. I can do the work. We do cooking segments. Yeah, no problem. Why not? We're an evolving, developing show here on the PJ Fleck Show. So much more to come on the other side of the break. When we come back, we'll discuss this weekend's opponent a little bit further. The USC Trojans coming to town. We'll preview that matchup coming up next.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the PJ Fleck Show. Coming up this weekend, the Gophers return to Big Ten play when they host the Trojans of USC. And PJ, I want to start with USC's defense. That was a subliminal message and messaging through the TV. That is true TV cinematography right there. Change your best. Saying a message like change your best. Change your best, Pierre. I mean, it's just like we drew it up here. Tell us about the game. We'll do that in a minute, but first I got to get your opinion, though, on USC's defense because they are ranked 32nd overall in total defense, but that is a vast improvement from where they were last season. I know Lincoln Riley caught a lot of flack from some people in the offseason, but they were a much improved team defensively. Yeah, not only that, they played LSU. They played Wisconsin, Michigan. They played Michigan. I mean, you're ranked 32nd in defense, and you played those three teams in your 5 games. I mean, they're very, very good. They're very active. Defensive coordinator comes from that Wink Martindale tree, same tree as Michigan, who winks at Michigan. He's spent a ton of time in the National Football League that we just faced. But these guys are long. They're all athletic. I mean, we have the same colors now. Don't get us mixed up, when our fans are watching. We're both kind of the same colors. We'll offset them, but they swarm to the football. They're up the field on their defensive attack. They've got really long linebackers who are really athletic and can fly around the field. Secondary's big and long, and I'm telling you that they're playing at a high level right now. And when you see Miller Moss, I mean, we saw what he did against Michigan. He uses his eyes well to move DBs. He took advantage of their greediness.
how do you tell your DBs, hey, I talked to the DB Ethan Robinson earlier, and he said that, like, I just got to wait for my moment. I can't force it.
Yeah, you can't force it, or he'll kill you. Like, he'll pick you apart. He's got such rhythm, and he's a football player playing quarterback. I mean, his throws are always accurate. He's throwing for over 73% on the year. And again, I told you the 3 teams they played out of the 5, and he's throwing for over 73%, and they're running the football at a high rate. He gives his players an opportunity to go make a play on the ball. He's got some 6'6" receivers, some 6'3" receivers. He's got 159 kid number 1 who would be at all types of screens and gadgets and down the field and crossing patterns. They can score, and they can score fast. They scored 28 points on Wisconsin in the second half, and it wasn't even close, and it went really quick. So they can strike, they can score very quickly. He's a competitor. He can throw off his back foot, as you just saw. He's very accurate in what he does. We're going to have to disrupt him somehow, some way.
In our final minute, we mentioned that Pierre's growing up. He got engaged over the weekend. You've been married a while. You've been married a while. I've been married a while. He's joining the ranks. What's your best advice to Pierre as he enters this new chapter?
You got it, babe.
I figured it might be something like that.
Short and sweet.
Yes, ma'am.
To the
Yes,
point.
ma'am. You
Yes,
got it,
dear.
babe.
Yeah.
Ask or do before she asks.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That would be my best marriage advice for you.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm writing this out.
Write that
You know, I'm
down.
changing my
Before
best
she asks.
as we
Because
speak.
you know what she's going to ask.
Do-
Like, you just know, you can feel it. But guys at times are like, I think I'll just wait till she asks me to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't know.
Yeah,
And
they
they're
know.
way smarter than us.
Yeah.
She already knows.
So
She's
take the
3.
trash out before she actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I appreciate the advice. I mean, even I'm getting coached up even by PJ here on this show, and let me tell you something. It's going to be a heck of a marriage. I have no doubt about that. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on the PJ Fleck Show. We'll be back with you for the Gopher pregame show this Saturday.
We all can't wait to go to the wedding.
Show.